So welcome back to the show. Time for us to get into the main issues and talk about the raining one. Of course, yesterday, the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council and the GPRTU together announced a 10% reduction in fares. According to them, this is to make up for the continuous reduction in fuel prices over the period. The new fares will affect shared taxis, intra-city, that's trotro, intercity, long-distance buses, and haulage vehicles. They are calling on their members to adhere to the new regulation and ensure that transport fares are reduced by 10%. We had some drivers complain yesterday that it will affect their businesses because spare parts prices are still on the high. Really, what should be the determinant factor in the transport fares fixing? And again, how will we ensure the implementation? Again, once you are out there today, what has been your experience taking trotro or shared taxi this morning? Let's hear from you. Our social media pages are active on Facebook. Do join us there and let's share your thoughts, your experiences today with us. Would ensure that the rest of the world gets to hear what you are telling us on the show this morning. Well, we'll get into the issues and discuss what matters are coming up on the show this morning. Again, with specific reaction to the reduction in fares. It's been some time when we've heard that transport fares have been reduced, but we're getting to hear again when fuel prices have consistently been going down for some time now. According to the GRTCC, the cumulative reduction over the period is 40%, but they could just do 10 because other factors too are there that they have to consider. We've been joined on the line by the General Secretary of the GPRTU, Godfred Albulbiri. He is with us now. Mr. Albulbiri, good morning to you. I hope you're well.
Yourself, how are you?
I'm well. Waking up to hear that transport fares have been reduced by 10% was good enough for me to have a good day.
Yeah, well, I know that will be one of your issues. So you are happy to hear that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let us in on the considerations in arriving at the decision that you have to reduce fares by 10%.
Well, if you say consideration, you are talking about the factors that we considered, right?
Exactly, yes.
You see, the bottom line is that we have continuously relied on what? The behavior of the fuel component, and then to talk about fare increment or fare reduction. And in this case, we have remember somewhere around November where the fuel price margin was around 5.99 and fares were reduced by 15.3%, if you recollect that time, around December. Now, from that time, the 15.99, the fuel prices have started coming down up to, as we speak, around 12.4.
12.5, 12.6.
So we'll look at that as an issue which we think we need to be a bit fair with our customers, which is a traveling public that we are putting ourselves in business. Now, it's a willful decision by us. There isn't any external body that has forced. The media reporter seems to create an impression that we were asked by the minister or whatever to ask us to come down, and we said no. You see, if that was the case, then we would not have come out in this manner. But we all met and said that, looking at the margin, about some 35% by the time we were meeting, and then it then came at, there's another increment reduction, which was about 5% about some 2 days ago, about some 40% in total. So if we come down our fares by 10%, It is not out of place.
Okay.
It is not out of place that we should come down by 10%.
We do understand that cumulatively, fuel prices have reduced around 40%.
Yes.
So why give us 10%?
I thought you said you were happy that we give it the 10%.
Oh, I'm happy, but of course, if you could go further, why would we be more happier?
You see, now the explanation there is that whereas we're looking at the fuel component alone and then to reduce, the other factors which we do mention each time has to do with the spare parts, lubricants, and then the fees. Now, the spare parts and then the tires and other lubricants are rather on the ascendancy. They have further increased. Well, there was a recent tax component that was introduced at the port, and then all their wares have met high costs now. So, whereas they are rather increasing, and the fuel is rather coming down. Now, if you look at the fees. Just by January this year, the insurance companies have increased all their premiums by what? 30%. Even the median ended on 30%, but per the figures we are paying is even more than the 30%. Now, GPRTU has also increased. Assembly fees are all been reviewed. So whether the other components are all on the ascendancy, the fuel component is coming down. So we could not adjust lower than the 10%. Because of the other factors are all that are rising. That's the reason.
That's why I wanted us to understand what are the specific factors in arriving at the transport fare that you give us.
I just mentioned that it is the fuel component. It's the daily, that one thinks about the daily, that's the running cost. The more highly cost area. Daily running cost is the fuel. But all other factors which I've mentioned, say that there are all the other determinants of what? The running cost of a commercial car. Which I mentioned spare parts, I mentioned the tires, I mentioned the lubricants, and then the fees that we do pay at lorry parks per day. They are the other determining factors in the running cost of a commercial car. But I'm saying that we looked at this particular review downwards with only the fuel component. I mentioned that.
Exactly, but that's why I wanted to, because if it is true that within the period there's been 40% and the running cost, as you said, is the fuel, which of course takes the larger component, why didn't you do more than 10, but you are only doing 10?
Even with the 10%, I can tell you that some of our members are having mixed feelings as to why we arrived at that decision. They think that it's just like robbing Peter to pay Paul. If the fuel is coming down and the other side is going up, why do we look at the fuel alone and to reduce? You are aware that quite recently there were some 3 tax components introduced at the port for which affect all the spare parts. The tires per the meeting day, someone mentioned that the tire was around from 2,300 per tire. That's the bigger tires, bigger Basel tires. And now it's being sold at 3,200 because of the increase, the introduction of those taxes. So whereas those ones are going up, if we look at the fuel alone and then we are waiving off 10%, they think that we've rather not help them. But generally, the general public coming to board our cars don't have any idea about the parts. Don't have any idea about the lubricant. And then for us to put ourselves in business, the little we can reduce will invite more daily passenger turnout that our vehicles can actually load and go.
Okay. Once you brought the message here, it was expected that this morning the implementation will start. Have you tried to check whether or not that is the case, or there are some people who are trying to deviate from what should be the case?
It is the feedback that will inform us about that decision, that maybe that action to take. But as a coordinating body, we normally write the regions, and the regions will disseminate information to the branches to implement. So when there are feedbacks, it will take same way and get to us, and then we don't have to maybe deploy a monitoring team to go out and supervise. But we don't expect that others will have the difficulty in implementing it. We don't expect that until it happens.
Okay, because yesterday when we spoke to some drivers, they weren't really happy about
yes, I mentioned that we have mixed feelings. Some of them are saying that they're looking at the other components which are rather going up. Why should we look at the fuel component alone and to reduce? They said that. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, per your statement, the transport, terminals were expected to be pasting some of these things are there. Have you checked to see whether that has been complied with?
Well, I think we supplied them yesterday. We did the calculation and sent to the regions, and the regions will have to send copies them to all the stations, and then they will page them and then effect it today.
Okay.
So we will do our checks at the office to the regions to see whether they have done same.
Okay. I'm grateful, Mr. Awobere, for joining us here. We're also trying to catch up with our reporters on the ground to really understand how this is going. Nana Bwachi Yadom is currently at a tech station in Kumasi, joining us with what is happening there. Nana, tell us what you found out at the tech station where you are.
All right, so Brace, we are currently at the Kumasi Tech Junction, where we know that the 10% reduction in transport fares is taking effect today. We are here to engage with some of the passengers, the drivers, and also some of these station masters and find out from them the new fares that will be taking effect today. The 50% reduction, the 10% reduction, as I know, and then we'll find out from them if the passengers are going to cope with this. Are they happy with this? Are the drivers also going to make sure that they reduce the fares by the 10% as said by GPRTU? So you can see this is a very busy station, and I'll be engaging some of the drivers over here, and I'll be speaking to some of their passengers as well. Driver, me pacha ne GPRTU say yatete fares so any me kwase wo station say.
Okay, but see I remember the mbedu here no. You pay for that fare ba am dey share price ne be a yenye bi am na dey brand ye san kan dey ba am say na kwaso ba. Je ne ye hwe am ntom dey brand san etim dey adwuma.
Okay, na fares no say 10%. It's 10% no more to say.
And the me shira hu dey pen for dey ba. Say ban san ye tumi hu dey pay bitimi dey atoso.
First, na offer from tech ekwahefa.
Ze me lodu free tech to Aiduasi. De diako. But kwa Aiduasi na 3 series. De diako 3 series 30 pesos. This is benefit so time be omo print na dia bre. So passengers ntimi ni achini o card. Jeno na dey adwuma.
It is say na pese hu say mo ya ready say mo betete so.
E ban kwa dey any problem e betete so.
Ate e ba ya che tete say ya tete petrol so ache pan.
Ba say na ka say benefit na the price the break. Because you va pay. Once you too much you va pay ko say. Benefit the price the break yenyi say. Ni say tete so am na say the price the break yenyi say. What the mention say? Aha, yenyi be fair penye dey.
Me pass me bisa boss. Transport fares na ya tete so no. Mo ya ready say mo so mo better so. First now for free tech ekwahefa.
Tech to Kote.
Tech to Kote now just say
3 series.
It is say I at so 10% no. Mo de beba say.
Say kwere ni bia santi. Yeah, say gidi agina. Ana normal no kra lord fair at so ka ho na ma wi no ya at so. On tie at so kra as be high.
Enema bensa na yente so e be ha mo.
Make food ne sa no man kitingiti ni oni amonte so.
But me sure say you are willing say mo betete fairness so ene.
O amotete normal no so dey so e betete so.
What he is also trying to tell me is that if the station master comes out with a new price, it is definitely going to take effect today. But for as long as it is not out, they do not know whether it is going to really take effect. But what we are certain of, as I spoke to the station master earlier, somebody will be going to very soon. He told me that he's now printed the new fares and then he'll be giving it to his drivers in no time. So we know that the 10% reduction is going to take effect here at the Tech Junction today. But we'll be finding out from the station master himself if he's willing to do it today, or there's another thing they are taking into consideration before the 10% reduction takes effect. So let's go to the station where we have the station master of Tech Junction and find out from him if, okay, he's actually Alaji. Alaji, Maba.
I will not joke with my wife.
He's finding it difficult explaining that the new fares to the drivers because some of them were finding it difficult to accept it. Alaji Bacho, first, no say no more say say. Yate so 10%, no. To say no more the echo 5 cities, the echo 4 cities, the echo 3 cities, no. Nina mo te so abasay.
The echo 5 cities.
The echo 5 cities, the echo 3 cities, the echo 4 cities, no. To say no more te so abasay.
Say the echo 5 cities, no. You work here at about 45. What I say? And the echo 3 cities, no. Check here. At is about 250. 2 cities 50 pesos. Zane.
Drivers no mo be say omo de omo nim say atete fairness.
Omo de omo nim a yen penny for yen nim. It is so far no yen e be show you so mo. Into Uber na no can I want to you move your car and go there. Because we are protecting our stations. We don't deal with the so call somewhere entertainment. No. Yeah, no only ejuma. Who listens to us? Yeah, I didn't say yeah buy the yanka say yen say bia say okoswa. Yeah, they take action. So far as in Penifama, I say, yen deal to drivers, no, yen mobile and charge, say, price in the attitude. You have to do our work. Because we are yen, Juma. What can I say? It is a Penifona can be trained, and so I find it is a penny there. I'm a Penifono. It's a penny, Penifona catch and a dear Juma.
Now, Oba Juma from 6 a.m. ABC Sabrino and Tawantawa BS.
Oh, Tawantawa, they made to be who said Tawantawa BS. But let's say one will meet me and do one more chance here. I'll call the person and show him. Just say, oh, say it here. Oh, my tear from so obviously say no. I was so that yet you but you were some other topic one more. That's all this is the man who creative or one who creative confusion. I'm a wow. And saying, the other for the kind, somewhere the other no, over balancing. Because the Penifona quite in every regional, national, urban region, and all the other branches. You have to work on it. What I say? Because omo ko no omo come and go do pepper for you. I'm want to sure say na eden akoso nti yente so nti any station bia eden eti na yiso adente yeso eden yente so omo kaso omo teso omo kaso opinion but e penny for assurance says yente so am send message eden am I the so have to
on message a unya no yese mo teso 10% and I say momo di be count.
No o say yente so 10%. 10%. It's 10%. I say working. 10%. Say, but say, time or two bedroom. I want to buy say two. Increase here. Now the job say enter. What's it? Say the pen for the
fuel prices no so na aba from no. Ye kwa enu ye hwe enu say e bi besa mo besa te so bi ma na asese.
Yeah, ke obi anu obi a pese bi an krom. Oba ko no be jade ho che be den. E be ni krom. So obi a pese bi obetima di sa wo so ka afro ni ade no onso be hu han kakra fuel price dey ba from a yepe nje yempe so that's ade ne kwaso dem ma system no more huge tension also what ba from a visa bibia be kama said yepe no
mama me bisa finally 10% ni ade na mo hwe ani mu anasa na mo hwe ani mu say ebe kosoro kakra na ebe ba from
normally yentimi ka say 10% hwe man ye ka say ye branch ye nkwala impenifo ho ti dom ko transfer mo wake ye ko si 10% no e no mo de breye no what I say but ye ntimi nchi adwin say bia say but omo de the benefit be ka bia no ye oja omo ro mo na say papa ye den amaye say ye wa say ye hwe na ndi odu to mo makodi ho adwuma no say 10% na be boy ya why not say 15% be boy ya nyina no ye be so benefit na ye den ye da omo what I say
Bosumi na mo hwe ni mu se ebe ba be yesen ankasa mo target pan na yesen
ntimi nya target wo so dem di ka che wo no mi ntimi ka se ala se ye benefit dey abetra aye aduma no ti dem benefit be ka se obokwa kwa target say 20% say 10% say 15% moreover every benefit one na ebre ye nyina ye chere but benefit no dey ombe ka che wo ha no e na edi aduma e ti fa epe e fa ni teki aduma bia ma na ere ene until say benefit na dey am approval the lead to the benefit the member catch no and say di adwuma
na me call o station here no me ne drivers ne mo bi edi nkomo early answer kra na me ba ho nom na ebi mo che me say omo be say ba mo the first ne ba enekra na o me ye na china ebi mo so say omo be say no 12 o'clock
okay e wono so opinion no so I say na me ka say ye me message ba no achi boss send message ba no achi na me work e no no na say me bie na say I was say na Wednesday you start here then e dey aduma because of we say Wednesday or start aduma tin no na gina so ko e bibia na e ko kire no What you know, guys, on my approval. I'm passing, so say, on my approval. And my paper behind it. I said, I didn't for young general over your doom. And Timpany don't make a channel and a dear Juma. Was one can the penny for the say, what me yano.
Sɛ we are up at the pennyfoɔ di kan aba ha bɛhɛ sɛ ne Mexico.
Penny Waba of Soviet who said this in Mexico. I'm about my instrument is a car back or load crown. Gentlemen, must have a can head. Yati to put your measurement. No can say, no, Minya, and Interma, Sadinabe, Abasu. But for now, they just say, they make one for now, Copim said, no 12 o'clock when they say, be okay, say the pen.
It's certainly by 12 o'clock, you won't say near my echo.
Allah, we are baby, come on. We are understanding because Stabeno, or more Moko and Abba. Most Econo, most Matty say, I echosu. From now, Copim 12 o'clock, I just said, you are no master the pen, inshallah.
Master Messa Bahono, but my member said, Papa, Pacho, mobile no near my echo, Wahanum say, we are driver now.
Pacho, me driving.
Near my shall say, echo say.
Medasi. An opinion teacher almost see and tea law of fairness. Now, no question. Here, there was in the MY cry hard drink and saying, so say, near my boy a day, who come as is equal talk, and near my dear, you can't hold you out. A quastro, sort of say, Tino, yeah, parks are the MY cry. BM says the same. The real term income say a bunny term, you say, was how the bar and say, almost a yanka. And look at Enna, a pretty for us here, much. Oh, and my one day, the cousin party, a ban one wire, papa. A pretty for enough of Camis income tax, you say, almost a yankano. A year bus yanka. Input to Naba, but a pretty for enough of home, and I may say, much men, a Jimmy 1 point lane. I'm the coin in the sutra a year to Tiabandi, as someone say, one more pan, this idea,
but me person me bisa say, why already say o better o fair so?
Fair idea, fair answer idea, and costuming. This year, who say, Mazif, and try to tell me muscle. Because, first, black food near turn 1 to 20. I can say 12 this. Say, a turn 30 this. What I say? Tiabasa young Sadi MY.
Unya wages oh dear.
Oh, say Panks had yes. This one would be and my pile and Nepal, Yanya.
But that's my member mate, no, no, person or baby. Now, Cassa, Unya wages or better so.
I be of a common gentleman to brave fruit. Be bien for what you talk and I say. It's a better to know for one pack here. I'm not a vita phone. Start on one Monty Biaso, or Monty Biaso, yeah. Just about so. I want to sit up first to national one year. And then so called to turn so no. No food to allow to national. Ya quite young, someone was a quite young. Some to Marco can be an ya so far. Nina, oh, quite can't Bob and Lamasa, and I say. What the choir do is come as him. That's a fellow fan. So,
let's say passengers are Afro okay. When you watch yourself better to swap.
Your father be and one I made here.
What you say? I know what you say.
Memen TV, the master of Yemi. Timid,
my partner said from a hat to macro now. What you say?
55.
It's 55 now, now, Beji.
55 now.
It's a more focus in when you watch yourself better.
I mean, imagine, sir. Menya imagine
no cran announce cry and say Yanti Lord Fellow.
GPRTU issue letter say effective 7th and net day Wednesday take effect.
So every kind and angel from say Yanti so Yanti a buono so. Most say Yanti so and one of kind. Or can the radio station?
Yes, I can say most into the young by near my board and do. I get the 4 Queen. Got oh, yeah, you into the Miansa 55 cities. Never to first with the past one is the entity so. Or more money and can hear about Yantel Fabia, so the Badia pen and not a bad year. Remember, Pacho, almost so months, so we are passenger when you do.
Maybe I shall be also much so. Mine more yet, Tony. It's a slow or Montes so none amount from Kakrama.
A man, my identity, Lord for the entity to be near Paya Badia Bagina and one a bad year. So, yeah, must.
Many papa and Casa, Tapacho, and then new transport first, no it take effect. Drivers, no person, better, be most better to say, be so monted so. One Casano say.
Mijidi say, also Moteso. Maybe I'm a folk, I almost time Jimmy 3 cities. But maybe or Jimmy 2 cities, minimum say, and to sword, I take effect there. mentimi ho ba megidi se omote so abeboa yen ama yen nyina ye ho atoye
baby ana wo free ba no hefa
ona me fi silicon tech police station chiro batek
first the silicon to tech near Joe say
mo je me 3 cities ba mate ni je me 2 cities I don't know say
say silicon there uche ma ya teso amamo
actually I don't know say ebi o wa obetimi adashe from mate na nkasa obetimi akase okay minister santije ba we de me hu ni sade you
can see that some of the drivers are not really happy with the decision that's taking effect today, the 10% reduction in fares. They are saying that there are several items in the market that haven't been reduced. So they do not see why they should reduce transport fares. They are saying that the magazine, when they go to the magazine, they have not reduced the prices of some of the things they use for their cars. So they do not see why they should reduce their prices. But Mami Bissau, now who just say
last year it's a fair so any problem. This year any problem. But brefu spare parts be so are and I drop from quiet 2 years so are ya benko
omo person tell say fuel prices e come from kakra enu tell
e come from where I come from say omo me kan tell yen they told the last 2 months na san ye dey so tell say are
yeah da for yeah bo aban say e bete ne ma so no timamumanfo no omo person mo de omo betom de so ana bibia ba driver for say e come magazine me ka kwesi wo mintimi nto ne ma no ko ye bobo aze otade no ba ye ne aje to say babo aban ma ya teso ba pe nipa na wo man mu no omo de omo ma de so omo de omo mo aban no ana ye ne ya driver for na de bia ye nteso ensuo ya aban ye se ensuo ye ntiti bibia so no ada for ye gitu ye titi bibia so ba timamumanfo no de omo ma de say chinchina twan omo ntehwe so eti esaba ni say oman ne driver for nkwa na ebu man no enipa dodo na ye ebu man no eti onfa omo bia ntina de so no man no ntimi mu man ne say de ba ye nkwa so a oman asundwe ma isi aye come ezini ye ba ye come ezini ye ba ka ewura afo so omo nti omo ukwa ka omo say ahen ka sika no ka ho nya mabo aye den nti omo nti omo ka ye 2 million na oje eti isi pressure abeda ye so na no den ye de nya de pense ye pebe ka say ye nteso na ye ya na de kasa because uko ba bia obia so ntina uko kroma de ton 100 cedi oboko 200 cedi unto a so fato on eko
me pata mami ntie wo so na wo ka bibi
omo nti senyo maso me say enu etia me koto eduro na ye 30 cedis enu etia omo di 35 cedis aren the bia yen tickets ka so the bia tickets ka so as a driver estimate for we about omo ma ya ba form kra omo fi energy what that say what me go to breakthrough I first I breakthrough I na say 35 cedis aren money ba ni aye
omo person mo che say ya tetefuo prices so kakra enu nti na wo say
enya fu anu nkwa na ya de calculate no ma o enya fu anu nkwa we ya toyo I to breakthrough I start to break ban no ma be brewa we ya den we ya to omo nya de omo ntete so oh no ma be brewa omo ntete so it case kan dia ye ntete so na ye ntete so china
according to station master no we printing new first in the abremo enu nti na wo say take effect immediately so print ba
first in the any adjuma fair ne pa de any adjuma because mo te friend so I say ka wura kura no ono ntini se so say na wagina na oyeden and oda so yeden eji etie na be den I na be affect yen it case kan dey yen te so china what I say ono no.
All right, so they are saying that they are not going to reduce the fares for as long as fuel prices hasn't come down drastically. They are saying that government must ensure that some of the items or the materials they use in their daily activities must come down before they also agree to reduce the prices of their fares. So let me still engage them. Now also until first so.
Fair idea, yante sumani nye because ana engine TD engine 170 million adai. TD engine 170 million and I told Okono 5 cedi kura ultimi nime.
But omo person mo say no fuel prices above from it's in our say at least mutimi consider 10% no say 50% na ka wose mo yi free so
that be enye ye free so enye ye e say yes ya wayire ombo na ba ba tete so na ye twi obi kan e be da na omo so atiti sesi no so oh ye twi obi kan no omo so omo titi sesi no so because kaka obekasa fu enoma boa ya den Oga ka obeka se no ma boa yedin. De bentina case kan kwa na say etimi tete so. And they say why you are 22.3 are 2.3 why you are what koba nani 3 years yam koba 7 million are ade bi wo ha mo ya enye fe anytime bi anamo ma ya to ma ne ho tiri ye ne ho tiri sa are oh
but oba no we need passengers na anyama to say omo complaining
abasa no na entokwa no na sa asase passengers for ne drivers for animate for na sa asase sa ebiem oh
let me speak to this man also and find out from him. Pacho, we ye penny wa hanum say said ye o mrante ne ka no ebi musi omo better so ebi musi omo nte so but omo musi omo nte so no do so pa odwen ho say my ready say from ene ko no mo better so
that's it ye wo mu ne say problem no ya na efiri soro ho na eba ya eti so a na ya tumu no enka minister transport minister GPRTU protoa concern inter unions no doesn't be brave. That's all money ye di pita ho. Oh, nim penfo no di pita ho a. Ye ne nkola na be kasa. Na bibia ye pepepe. Oh, ne nyina timi akope. Na se kuro ba ko e ko kasa ya teso. Ba ko se ye teso a. Oh say eye easy sa. First of all, transporter adwuma already transporter nyema bebre na keka bomu a obetimi ara na transport ebi te set time oil brave food and spare parts akeka aka no ese se wo mu nyina timi boa eboa aban no wo mu nyina timi boa aban no na aban no etiso a na wo so atiso ye nyina atiso sesi ya make say Hi, the near ton 2.5. Say I call 5 million. Use one. Home use I will be a use no 5 million. And she said, what fuel so and 34% and our free letters. Oh, or China and what Chinachi, Yenimudi basi, fuel and unquau, betting us out to me. And she the Americans as one year boom as soon as dinner home and son and more can say Yanteso. Now, how can a radio say, Yatis will be artist 10%? I mean, you are 1 year or no one you will be asking about what you say. Only you will be able. And I don't know, paying for a monster, or money and Cassa, or money and Simkuya, Nay and Cassa, no Tiasia Juma, nothing in your pet. Yakasa be a yatis will be attack here now, Kumasia, in artist. Now, tonight radio so kind of sad, I said, I'm crying case out of a so, enti payinfo no ye tu omo fo say bibi say abeba omuni kan ne union payinfo no nyina nhia ne yen ka omo nkasa nche ne yen tiase na yen so yen fa nkoma yen kwala no.
All right, so those are the sentiments from the tech station where my colleague has been interacting with drivers and some passengers there as well. You've heard them, some of them say it will be difficult for them to reduce the fares by the 10% that GPRTU and GRTCC are asking for. Let's get some perspectives from Duncan Amwa, who is Executive Secretary of COPEC. Grateful to you for joining us. I hope all is well this morning.
Very well, and good job.
Thank you, sir. Now, you've heard there, the drivers are citing other reasons why it will be difficult for them to reduce the fares by the 10% that the GPRTU and GRTCC has announced. What do you make of their concerns?
They are legitimate. They are founded or grounded. You listen to them and you get a sense that indeed it is not one person. So I say yes. This is very at this point. Although Brace, to start with, I must just mention.
Well, Mr. Moore, we're having a difficulty. We're having a difficulty in trying to hear you. I think it's because
I don't know if this will be better, but
okay.
Yes. So what I was saying is the concerns of these drivers are legitimate. You cannot dismiss them outright because all that is being raised on your network this morning is the reality. Fuel prices, if I could correct, since the last time we dropped transport fares, has declined by some 22% between December and now, when we got to some 15.3, and now we have been able to scale down to about 12.3.
Okay.
You are doing about 20-22%, depending on the OMC you deal with. So per their own standing arrangement, which says that when fuel declines or goes up by some 10 percentage points, there's supposed to be some adjustment. In the past, when it has gone up, this argument has been used by our driver union to scale up transport fares. And I have almost always had to defend them that, of course, if you look at, how much fuel will cost, how much spare parts will cost them, and you rightly heard from them, the cost of even tires have almost doubled as we speak. So the running cost for these guys will come to something quite high. And so when prices of fuel also come to add, then it becomes a double incident of agony for them, and they need to go up on their fares. Now, whatever arrangement they had with the transport ministry, they may come back to bite them at this point because, like I rightly indicated, we have done a cumulative 22% reduction from the start of the year to this point. And so if your agreement says at 10% you are going to scale down, then you don't have argument going forward not to scale down, especially when the figures and the facts out there point to the fact that we have done some cumulative 22% reduction in fuel prices over the period. The national chairman, I know at this point, will be taking a lot of hits from his own members. But the right thing must be done, and that is the more reason I said to begin, I must commend him, because you don't get this in this part of the world where prices scale up, and then through a deliberate action or program, we seek to bring prices down. His members will not be happy. The driver unions, some of them will definitely kick against this. The pushback will be very strong. But the truth of the matter is that the chairman and his general secretary and the other leadership of the union seem to have done just the right thing. If we succeed in getting the fares to come down, what the complaints of the drivers are, they could be surprised that there will be a cascading effect also on the cost of food, the cost of, spare parts and used items. If you are making mobility or people to be able to move around a bit easier, and they realize that, look, I was paying 5 cedis, now I'm paying 4 cedis something. There's some relief somewhere. Okay, I have cassava. I used to sell 3 for 10 cedis. Maybe I can do 5 of it for 10 cedis. You realize that overall, within a certain time period, it might not be today, it might not be this week, but within a certain time period, there will be a certain cooling off effect that the economy itself will record for all of us. So maybe the drivers have a complaint today, germane, legitimate and all, but if the change that they seek, I heard somebody talk about cost of drugs, cost of food, everything. If you are charging so high to transport or move these items and people across, the place, then expect that when you go to the woman selling kinky, she would also say, look, there was 2 cedis. I can't do the 2 cedis anymore because my running are so high, I would need to go up. But the change the drivers are seeing would need to start with them, and it's probably unfortunate that some of them think, people are just looking to, as it were, always, put pressure on them.
Okay.
We don't regard them as much. It cannot be true. If there's any union in this country that has been at the front of, championing the concerns of their members, it's been the GPRTU and other driver unions. And I think that this is the right call that the national leadership has made. Unfortunately, the pushback is expected. It will come.
Okay. I'll come back to you again, but let me bring in the chairman of Transport Committee of Parliament, Kennedy Osei Nyako, Honorable. Grateful that you could join us here. Now, this issue of, convenience. When fuel prices increase about 10%, drivers want an increment in transport fares. Well, when there's a reduction, here they are citing the issue of cost of spare parts and other issues. Duncan Amwa has made us understand that these are issues that you cannot push away. But how do we deal with this going forward to ensure that really when there is a reduction in fuel price of up to 10%, there will be a commensurate reduction in transport fares and not have drivers tell us that increment in spare parts and what have you is also the reason why we are not able to reduce?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me on your show this morning. Yes, it's a pleasure and honor to speak to your cherished listeners. Yes, as we speak now, we don't have anything like an automatic pricing policy for this commercial vehicle owners, or let's say a system that determines anytime there is any change in any of the variables, maybe automatically go into the system and automatically fix the prices of transport in this country. We don't have it. And that is one thing which is making it very difficult for both government and everybody for us to be able to determine as to how much in terms of percentage and at when prices of, let's say, or fares or vehicle fares are to go up. So that is the most challenging aspect of it. I know the Ministry of Transport is doing everything possible for us to have, many have made that proposal that we should have a system that automatically, anytime whether there is an increase or reduction in any of the variables, then automatically we put that in the formula and it calculates and it determines the prices so that there will not be any brouhaha about how much drivers should increase their, or vehicle owners should increase their fares and how much. And so that is where we are. And I'm glad that gradually we are inching into that. That one day we will have that kind of system in place where this issue of people disagreeing about why the price was increased to this level. But now that we don't have it, definitely we will be encountering some of these issues, contentions about why when fuel prices is at this level, you people decide to increase your fare at this level. I am happy that for now, the global economy seems to be, picking up, stabilizing after several years of global supply and distribution chain disruption, which has affected distribution channels, which even cost of distribution very expensive. It is not the item itself that has become more expensive, but the cost of distribution has become so expensive, which has translated or added into the price of the final determination of pricing of commodities, and it has become so unbearable for consumers to even be able to afford it. But I'm happy it has started for the past 3 months. It has if you see the curve, it has started declining, coming down gradually. We started the year with an inflation of 53.6%. Gradually, after April, it has come to 41.2%. So it is tilting down. It is going. If you look globally, you see the same thing. Crude oil prices on the world market is also declining gradually. But we cannot do a quantum leap or jump that low because prices of crude oil have come down. So So poor prices, the next morning when we wake up, the price should drop by 2 cedis or 3 cedis. It cannot happen because when it was going up, it didn't go 2 cedis and 1 cedi. It went gradually, but it was in a fast pace because of how the global economy and even the strength of our cedi was at that time. So I am happy that things are coming down gradually. We might not immediately see the effect because it will not translate to, let's say, into some kind of relief immediately to the ordinary person. But gradually it will translate. But our advice and our plea to both our market women or the traders in the market, the difficulty and the problem, or what I've seen as a Ghanaian in this country, is that when prices goes up, it hardly comes down. Even if the price of crude oil maybe in 2 months ago was, let's say, a barrel was $100 and now it has come to $50, you will see that market woman or that trader selling a tomato for maybe 10 cedis at that time, still keeping that thing at 10 cedis. That is the most difficult aspect. That so sometimes we have to appeal to them. Morally, they know. And we appeal to their conscience because if things are coming down and we don't want to also reciprocate so that the ordinary Ghanaian also have kind of relief, then it becomes difficult. Then even irrespective of what government will do, all policies that we put down to make sure that it brings that kind of reduces the hardship of the ordinary Ghanaian, it will not bear fruit. We will not see it because at the end of the day, those people who are supposed to help for us to do those things now will take advantage of it and will be making millions of profit at the expense of. So that is my fear, that all these declines that we have seen, if we are not careful, we will see the decline, but it will not translate into reducing the hardship of the ordinary, the standard of living of the ordinary person, because those people who are in charge selling those items will use the opportunity to make millions at the expense of the ordinary person without reducing the goods and services. But we have all seen today, transport fares have been reduced by 10%. Fuel prices are coming down. I'm told this May, the next window, the fuel prices will come down. So consistently, since January or from, it has been coming down. And if drivers are reducing their fares by 10%, it should also go to the market women. So those things that they were selling for, let's say, 10 cedis, if they cannot even go beyond the 10%, because the transport people or the vehicle owners, before they came out with the 10%, they have also looked at the prices of other items that makes up maintaining of their vehicle. But
that presents an opportunity, isn't it? That we know what the challenge is. That when there is a reduction, it's difficult for things to also come down. What are we then doing to ensure that we cure this?
So I have always maintained that government, though we are practicing a free market economy, there should be a bit of control in the free market economy. You cannot liberalize the economy in the developing country that has a liberalized economy. It's difficult for that economy to grow. And a economy like Ghana, we are not a developed country. We can afford to liberalize our market to the extent that everybody can do everything that the person likes. No, that is the difficulty. So government should be able to have a bit of control of determining certain things. Okay? So if, let's say, an olonka of Gary is 4 cedis, and the measure of that Gary, the olonka is, let's say, 1 kg. It should be, and it is 5 cedis, it should be 5 cedis throughout the country. Nobody can sell it. Nobody can sit at, let's say, Okansi and sell olonka of Ogari for 15 cedis. And somebody sitting at, let's say, somewhere in Ohoy and Abidome and sell it from, let's say, 5 cedis. That is the problem that we have in the country. If tomato, maybe you go to market and maybe 4 of it, they give 4 of the tomato for, let's say, 2 cedis. in Accra here, we should have a standard. It should be across. But here, there's nothing like standardization in the pricing of our items. Everybody, the same item that they are selling, if the same area, if you are in the country, you can move to one store. One person will sell it for you 15 cedi. Other place is 20 cedi. Other place is 30 cedi. In the same area. So there is no standardization in this price, and it does not help the country. That is why any time you see these foreign companies like the Nigerians and the Chinese, when they come, then our good people are crying. They are not willing to reduce their prices and make little profit by sell more. But when these people, these foreigners come in, they think that it is better for them to sell 1,000 pieces of an item and make 50 pesos or 1 cedi profit each on it than to sell just 10 of them and increase and make 100% on it. And that is the problem. That is the attitude and the character of most of our Ghanaian entrepreneurs or traders in this country. We prefer selling few and making huge profit than selling more. That principle does not work in such a liberalized economy.
But isn't this something Parliament, which you belong, can do something about?
You see, policies are initiated, Parliament are making law. Policies are initiated by the executive. When it comes to Parliament, Parliament can propose a policy. But it is the executive that ensures the implementation of the policy. So, if you make the proposal to government, and government say that I'm not interested in that proposal, and government has its own plan of doing things on its own, it becomes so difficult. So I think it's fair to see that when we have gotten to, we cannot allow this liberalized market to go on because it is not benefiting anybody. That is how come you see this all foreign companies rush in and come settle here and make huge profit at the expense of our local people. Because when they come, I have to be honest with you. Those foreign companies, when they are coming, they have cheaper lending rates, and they come. Okay, here the person might not have to compete on maybe a high interest rate to set up. The person comes, yes, it's not through fault of his. He has gotten a cheaper, he has come, but he's selling his goods at a rate that everybody can afford. Okay? So if we also want to control, then we have to have some kind of standardized system in place. That this item A, B, C, D, why should I go and buy? I go to pharmacy and I want to go and buy Coatem. And I go to one pharmacy at Oshi and they sell the Coatem for me for 10. I go to my constituency at Sinclair Group and I buy the same Coatem for, let's say, 20 cedi. Why should it be so? Why? Why should it be so? And that is the problem that we have in this country. And that is what we need to come together, because it is not the problem of the government of the day alone. It is the problem of the country. And all of us must we have to be playing our role in ensuring that we also do our little contribution or support or play our part to make the entire society a very good one for everybody to live in. Well, we want to push everything to government and look government alone to be pushing it. Look at when government decided to say that, we were introducing that 50% benchmark values on items. That all our importers were happy. Since that teachers, maybe they would have paid duties on it, let's say 100 cedis. They were paying 50 cedis. But ask yourself, at the time that they were paying 50 cedis, they never reduced the items, they never reduced the prices of the items and market. So they were enjoying from government policy, getting reduced duties, but when they come to it, they were making huge profit by transferring or keeping the prices on the same level for those persons. Then you see the other person now will turn back and be blaming government. Once government has got a policy, that should have translated to the very person within the chain of the supply. Somebody said that this is the opportunity for me to make billions of Ghana cedi profit. So we stand in, intercept it, and make the the millions. Because government cannot directly go and be selling those items to the ordinary person. You have to go through the players within the value chain, or the players in the market. And these are the people who are also not doing it. Today, government says that after several years of introducing this 50% benchmark value, the people, the citizens, the ordinary people, they were still crying that things were hard. So then it means the policy did not benefit them, and therefore I'm going back to the 100%. These importers, the complaining, and things have become expensive, the duty. But when you have the opportunity that you should have translated it to the ordinary Ghanaian who doesn't have much, that comes to the market to buy. You were making total. That is the situation. That's why I'm saying that it's a moral issue. The fact that government is also putting measures in place, ensuring that it brings into relief and relieve the hardship of the Ghanaian people. There are moral issues, which is a very key. The moral issue in this matter is very key. So everybody, all traders, the market women, morally, they should sit down soberly and reflect that if things are going down, then they have to consider also reducing their things for the ordinary person to also benefit from it. And that is how we run society.
Okay. All right. Let me bring in Duncan Amo again. Duncan, so from the industry perspective, how can we deal with this issue of, fuel prices will go down, would want a commensurate reduction in transport fares, but we won't get it, or we'll have difficulties in doing it?
Member of Parliament, in when you asked what could be done to save the situation, when you the petroleum station of
Duncan, I guess you have to reposition yourself a bit for us. So
okay, so what I was saying is this. What I don't know if it is any better now.
Yeah, it's better now, yes.
Okay, so what I was saying is this. You asked a critical question of the honorable member, and for that matter, chairman of Transport Committee, what could be done. And I was hoping that he would avert his mind to the need to put in proper structures so that transportation costs are not in dispute. They may not have to be in dispute because, like I said, in the petroleum sector, there's a very efficient way of determining the cost per liter per kilometer, where you input your input cost or the operational expense and investment cost, and then you look at how long it is going to take to be able to recoup that kind of investment and operational expenses based on the number of liters one is carrying at a time. And so it is a lot easier to determine the cost per liter per kilometer. Why are we unable to, up to this point, put in a certain efficient mechanism that allows us to determine the cost per kilometer per head for public transportation systems? If I'm doing 100-kilometer distance, I'm doing 200-kilometer distance, and the cost per kilometer per head, based on the variables that are used in computing transport fares, is supposed to be, let's say, 1 cedi per kilometer. We don't have to be in dispute at all whether fuel prices go up or it comes down. Once you input the fuel price, bit into that computation, it gives you a figure. We have proposed this to the Transport Ministry over and over and over again, that until we move to a more scientific way of handling this whole public sector transport, discourse, we will come back to the same confusion over and over. In the past, the practice has been that, okay, fuel prices have gone up. Operators say we want 20% increase. Transport Ministry says, come and let's sit and negotiate. What are we negotiating for? You see, the challenge therein, again, even for investment in the transport sector, is that if I were to put in, let's say, 500,000 Ghana cedis today to be able to get a bus that now will be able to move people from one point to the other, that investment I put in, if the returns do not add up, you know what will happen? I will no longer be interested in putting in that investment. Then the buses you have will get older and older. Then they will increase the attrition rate or the rate of accidents happening on your roads because they cannot maintain these cars, they cannot service them. And would jeopardize the lives of people. I think we should get to a very healthy point where the public now come to appreciate that, look, the cost for moving a kilometer, if you are moving from Adenta to, let's say, Circle, and it's a 30-kilometer radius or distance, this is how much it is likely to cost you. If the public come to appreciate this, that whole confusion, that whole misadventure, where we now have to sit and negotiate, renegotiate, argue, agree, disagree, and all of that, I think we should be able to put that behind us. But this system, where if it goes down, the operators are not willing to go down because, like you spoke to some drivers, the other cost variables for their operations have gone up. They are not lying. It is the truth. But the truth again is that fuel prices has also gone down 22% over the period. So something ought to be given. Is what's being given scientific enough so that everybody comes to the table to appreciate that this is where we were, this is where we are now, and this is what we are supposed to be getting to. Then there's no confusion at all. I think we may need to move to a more scientific, way of determining how much we are actually charging our people per kilometer in order to be able to move them around.
Interesting. So, in terms of looking for solutions, where must we be looking at for those solutions?
Well, I think that if some reference or deference could be made to, like I indicated, the fuel haulage sector, who are able to determine the cost per liter for moving their products one point to the other. We should be able to do the same for, human cargo or passengers aboard. There's a more scientific computation that is done. I can probably share all of that with you, that we are aware, if was adapted in the public transport space, we'll probably be able to make a final determination of what it will cost to move somebody from 1 kilometer. They input such cost as the cost of, changing tires. If the tire is supposed to do about 2,000 kilometers or 10,000 before you probably think of, replacement, then you are depreciating the tire, you are depreciating everything in that transport cost build-up. By that, they are able to maintain. That's how come when you get to the oil sector, the trucks there are almost new, quite new. You might find a few older ones, but generally, people are willing to invest. You recall some time ago, the major banks in Ghana, ADB, EcoBank, and others, invested heavily into the public transport space, right? They bought these mini buses, paid for the buses, the long-distance buses.
Yeah.
Eventually, it went as bad business. So they could not continue the program. What happens then? You will find trotros that are probably 20, 30, 40 years on our roads, still ferrying people or carrying people from one point to the other. Clearly, we are not taking care of that public transport space at all. And so people are not willing to put in any investment. Even the banks are running away. How much more individuals you put in money, the accountability process or the recouping process becomes problematic because today, transport fares are going down. The car owners are not probably looking to go down on their revenue expectations or income expectations. So they are still going to hold the drivers to the same old sales that they brought them yesterday. And then you have a situation where the guy at Abotokai does not even appreciate that things have gone down. So, okay, I can go down by some 5 or 10%. They won't do anything. We are bottling a lot of things together. I think we can move to a more progressive scientific basis. And I have cited the petroleum haulage, space that is able to do these things more scientifically.
If I understand you, that won't mean cheaper transportation fares, right?
You see, it doesn't even have to mean cheap, especially for most of our commuters. If you told them, look, if I gave you, some of these very new, nice buses, let's say from Medina to Circle, right? some of which can even come with air conditioners and all. If it is 4 cities and you have to pay 6 cities, I'm sure most people would say, okay, we can manage. I mean, because it's value for money, right? But this is where the car picking you up is slanted one way or the other. You don't know whether you even get to the next kilometer. You don't know. So anytime you ask them to pay more, it becomes a chicken and egg. Should I pay so that you get to, maintain the car, or you should go and maintain your car so I pay? I think that if we get to a more realistic revenue, expectation, the businessmen across the country will be more willing to throw in some investments, especially to the public transport space, where the fleet of vehicles that are so old, that are quite precarious to people's, dangerous to our roads, we can probably be able to phase them out within a very short period. But where it stands now, it doesn't get encouraging. If you speak to people who invest in the transport space, it doesn't look as though they will be willing to put in so much to bring in brand new vehicles where the recouping or revenue returns are not even assured.
Interesting.
Not good enough.
Well, let me bring in Honorable Kennedy Osei-Nyako again. So earlier you were saying that when it comes to what we call automatic adjustment, we are so close in terms of how prices of transport fares will reflect the price of petroleum. How close are we?
In the past, these are individuals who own their car, okay? And they believe that it is not only the fuel that is a determinant in their pricing policy. There are other things. So it is not only when prices of fuel come down, then they will quickly go and just reduce the prices of their fares. They consider so many things. I think there are about 6 or 7 items that they consider before they come out whether to reduce the price of their fares or increase it. So it is something that I am happy that Duncan is also with me when I said we need to get to a point that we have a scientific system that will automatically, anytime there's some kind of increase, whether in fuel price or prices of spare parts, they can input it into the system and it will determine the prices of the item. Gradually, we are getting there. As we speak now, before, there was no control. As commercial vehicles, they were not under the commercial vehicles operated. They were not under any, any agency or anything. Now we are past the National Road Safety Authority Act. National Road Safety Authority Act. Now, under the Act, the Road Safety Authority are mandated to regulate, because like we have the Ghana Civil Aviation that regulates air transportation, and we have, let's say, Maritime Authority also regulating the maritime industry. Now, Ghana Road Safety Authority have been mandated to regulate the commercial transport industry. So they are coming to put so many measures. It will get to a point, even if you are a commercial driver operator and you don't have a license, you have not been licensed by the National Road Safety Authority, you cannot operate. It will get to a time that individuals that just they only buy one car, then they will start operating themselves. It will get to a time, the law that you have had, they will not allow. It means they will rather encourage individuals to put their fleet together to form a company and run it. We want to bring sanity into the industry. In the past, there hasn't been any sanity. Everybody was doing whatever they want. They just buy, you get money today, tomorrow you bought a car, you want to register, then you started loading, then you start moving around and all those things. With this act and the regulation being passed in the last meeting that we went in Parliament, now the Road Safety Authority has the power to penalize and regulate the sector, the industry, the commercial transport industry. So that is a good step that we have taken. And I believe once we put this system in place, it's now normalizing operation in the industry to even give way for policy, let's say, makers to also fine-tune the policy in the industry and make sure things are done. If you compare what is happening here in Ghana to other places, I listen to my colleague Duncan that makes a reference to government not being able to fully utilize those buses like Metro Miles and other government buses available for the ordinary person to use it. But they are there. But you look at how it's so when you go to just Abidjan here. I've been in Abidjan here. When you go, trottoirs are not even allowed to come to the city. The trottoirs are in the hinterland. You cannot operate any trottoir. It is only the bus. So everybody, buses and taxis. So everybody, if you don't take a taxi, you are forced to join a bus. The bus will be that of a government or it will be that of a private company. And it is being regulated properly. And here in the case, even the government one, it has been overshadowed by individual private or individual commercial vehicles in town. So even government can bring all the fleet, but they will not get the needed patronage. Even if they get the needed patronage, because the system is so choked, there's so much choke with this private vehicle crossing everywhere, it becomes so difficult for them to even get a patronage. Because if I'm going to Atomota and I see a small car, I can join and within 5 minutes or 10 minutes it will be full and I'll go. Why would I go and sit at, let's say, Metro Max yard that I'm taking a bus that will carry about 50 or let's say 60 people or even 45 people? I should go and wait maybe 30 minutes before I join. So these are some of the issues. Until we address all these bottlenecks in the industry, making sure that we put a proper policy, like the Ivory Coast, the Ivory Coast government, they've done in Ivory Coast. That what should have a point they can load. You cannot enter the capital, the metro regional capital. So they will tell you, okay, if you are coming from Kumasi, your termination point will be maybe, let's say, in Tawam. That's where the truck will go. From Accra to every part, if you are within Accra to every part of Accra within, these are big buses or shuttles that will be operating. Then we take all this away. But because of politics, everybody is afraid. Tomorrow, you go and tax these commercial drivers that will not allow you, all commercial, all trucks are being moved away from Accra. You cannot operate here. You see what the heat that will come in this and the threat from these people, the owners of this vehicle. They will tell you into politics, but they are not looking at the beautiful part of it. They are not looking at how it will make even the city beautiful, how it will make the industry sanitized and the patronage by government. So that is the only way that will encourage even back that, let's give government money. Because now, in Accra here, the buses, even if you bring thousands of them, they can operate. They can go everywhere and get our money back. As if the system is choked and operated haphazardly like it is done now, no bank will put money for government to go and buy, and you will not be getting the patronage and these small vehicles on traffic will take over all the places. Going forward, we need to be bold in taking certain policies. I don't think when you travel outside, I'm sure you might have traveled, and when you go to other Western countries, you see trucks everywhere. You don't see, if you want to travel, go beyond a certain point, you take either big bags and go if you are going from hours. If you take a car, why can't you adopt that same system? If those people who have been, the government for now doesn't have that models to help people to acquire this big bags. I mean, we should find a way of regulating the system and making this truck people operate at a certain point so that they will leave the capital cities nicely for the bigger ones to operate, and there will be sanity and control.
But how will this bring about the fair pricing in transport fares such that both commuters and drivers will be happy about the state at which they will be?
If government thinks that, as we speak now, Metro Mass, the one that they load around, The fares are cheaper than any other operators, commercial transport operator in this country. They don't charge as high as the commercial, other private commercial drivers are charging. Metro Man doesn't charge that way. Okay? Their fares are a little bit cheaper, subsidized. So if we don't have the system to, and that brings more of this burden. There are no much traffic on the route, crisscrossing by truck roads, and they can come and load easily and get people and go and come, and we are sure of getting more patronage. They can afford to reduce the prices even better, because the more patronage, the more passengers that you get, you can afford to, cut down prices of, your fares, cut down your fares for people to patronize. But like you are saying, the determination of the fares, they put certain variables, about 7 of them, to do that determination. Until that determination, we are also able to arrest major of them. And the major of them is the prices of crude oil, is the prices of spare parts. When duties go up at the port, definitely when they come to sell the spare parts will also be expensive. And if the driver go and buy an expensive spare part and put on the car, definitely when he has the opportunity to increase the fare, he will also push that increase into the fare. So the fact that fuel prices are coming down, if other variables don't also come down, if I go to station and the bookman before, I was paying 5 cedis. If now bookman is taking 50 cedis for me, and I had the opportunity to increase the fare, I will add all those costs. But if, for now, price of fuel has come down, and the bookman says that, oh, me too, I've reduced my bookman fee from the 50 to maybe 40 cedis, the driver will say, okay, I've gotten some reduction. So I will also input it into, I will add it to the determination so that the price will also come down. So these are various factors. And who controls it? Because there's nobody that regulates in the industry. Things were done by themselves. The commercial drivers, government on its part, has had the opportunity to sit in several meetings to discuss this matter. That's, commercial drivers. It's not easy for government to, for how long they will prepare on. Well, you see, you prepare on some, and some they will not agree, because there are several of them putting themselves together. Okay, so it becomes so difficult for government. It is time for us to sanitize and regulate the industry. Okay. And I'm happy the National Road Safety Authority, with the power that has been given to them now, stands the distance to do that. And they cannot fail the country. They have to do it, irrespective of how people will see them and talk about it. They have to.
When is this law expected to come into force?
We have passed everything. We passed the regulation matured. Even the regulation to operationalize the act was laid in our last meeting, and it matured after 21 days. So the law is in their bosom now. They have to do it. It's in their hands.
Okay.
They don't need any. It has been passed already.
Okay.
It has been passed already.
You mentioned that, you agree that the cost of spare parts is also why drivers find it difficult to reduce their fares. Isn't that why, when it came to the 3 new tax bills, Parliament should have hesitated a bit?
Which of the 3 new tax bills that you are talking about?
The one that they were new imposition of taxes on duties at the port, which the drivers are referring to as to why spare parts have increased.
I have to know, because you have to be specific on the bill you are talking about. The bill, the specific tax that you are mentioning, you have to be specific. So that if I have to respond, I can also respond equally.
But these are the recent new tax bills that you passed, the 3. One of them was going into increasing the duties at the port. And the spare part dealers are referring to that.
Duties of what? Because I know a law, a bill, we amended the Import Duty Act, the Excise Duty Act, to make sure we increase the ban on duties on, let's say, cigarettes, e-cigarettes, tobaccos and alcohols and all those things. I don't see anything wrong increasing the prices of alcohol and cigarettes. These are morally corrupt products, which does not help the society. If you go everywhere around the globe, that is how they've done it. They don't do it. It's not because of the duty that they are looking for. They are making it so expensive for people to patronize it, so that they will stop. Because when people smoke, when people drink excessively, and they become sick, ill, it becomes a problem for the state. The state has to find all means money to be able to take care of a sick society. And the cost of maintaining or taking care of a sick person in the society is very expensive. So if we have any measure to put in place to mitigate or to stop or minimize it, you have to. And I'm happy that particular law, I think the government, it took the government that long to bring it. We have to regulate it, like soda. Why do you want to make soda so cheap? People go and buy Fanta and all those things and drink and become obese, develop diabetes, and everywhere when you go to our major hospitals, people are sick there. Every time we need to, we are buying, government is spending, have to buy more beds, buy more medication, they all recruit more staff to be there because to manage these people. So you don't wait to get to that level. Some countries have gotten to that level, and it became so problematic for them. So once we have an example that we can, or we have something that we can look at, we can benchmark, then we don't have to get to that. So that particular one, I don't see the other ones like the stabilization, the profit, and the gain, whatever. Already with some stabilization fund that was there. That we amended the act. It's not a new tax. It's an old one. So all the things that we got, most of them were old ones that we just amended it to increase the ban to make it so. Well, that is how government is. Right. We need to go. I am not part of the executive. I'm just a lawmaker. They brought it, they gave explanatory memoranda telling Parliament or explaining to Parliament why it wants to take this seat, which every member read it, and we were convinced, and the thing has been passed. So that is where we've gotten to. If at a point in time, government thinks that, this bill or this law or this taxes have served its purpose and it's happy, it has control, so we need to remove the law. We need to remove the tax. I'm sure it will be done. But as we stand now, government believes that if policy direction, we think that is how it wants to do. And the thing has been passed. There's nothing we can do about it immediately.
Okay. So being the chairman for the Roads and Transport Committee, and with the recent agitation about transport fares, and then the passage of the law giving the Road Safety Authority the mandate to regulate the transport sector, what are you going to do from now on to ensure that this new law has been kicked into effect to ensure that we're able to regulate the transport sector such that we won't have these back and forth when it comes to transport fares and petroleum price reduction and increment?
Okay, so what we are going to do is immediately when we resume, I think we will have a meeting with the National Road Safety Authority and the ministry, because it was the regulation that we were waiting for it to pass, and it matured. So now they have the way for them to pay. So we want to invite them to have a meeting to find out from them how they intend to start the entire operation, and they have to explain the entire workings to us so that we also follow and be monitoring periodically. We'll be reviewing the activities to see how maybe the things are going. So that is what we are going to immediately when we do. We arrange for a meeting with them so that we know their preparation and what they have done so far. We'll take it from there. And once we meet them, we meet them sometimes, media budget, performance review. We meet them, we look at it. At the end of the year, in November, when we are doing the estimate, we have the opportunity to meet them, we look at it. So at any point in time, if there's any cause for us to invite them to come and explain certain things to us, for us to appreciate what is happening in the commercial transport industry, we will do it. We will not hesitate. We will just go ahead and do it and just ensure that things are done according to the law that have been passed.
Okay. Let me bring in Duncan. Duncan, so you've been listening to the chairman for the Roads and Transport Committee talking about this new legislation that is giving the Road Safety Authority the chance to regulate the transport sector. He believes this could help us solve the issue about transport fares brouhaha. What do you make of it after listening to him? Do you think it is one of the surest bet in helping us deal with this canker?
Well, I do think that the honorable member has done justice to this one, and like he rightly said, that act should empower the NSRA to do a much holistic job. How soon that will be done, I'm sure we'll continue to watch the space. But until we get to a point where the public is able to at least get to a certain understanding that transportation systems will have to be paid for, and people are willing to pay for the right fare in order that they get the right kind of service, we will continue to go back and forth. For us, the key issue would have to be safety on our roads overall, because at the end of the day, if because of cutting corners, we end up with very bad vehicles that have poor service and maintenance, record, because the operators themselves are unable to recoup anything at the end of the day, and they have to just do that to survive or get by. We are simply killing ourselves, and at the end of the day, it's the very people that would have to pay for all of this. I think that some progress would need to be made, and whether the act will lead to that progress or not, the days ahead will determine.
So price standardization is one of the things we need to look at in curtailing these sort of issues we do get when it comes to increment or reduction in transport fares, right? Just to wrap up.
Well, I do not see how we'll probably be able to pass another layer of tax and call it stabilization for transport. What I think needs to be done.
No. It's not about taxes anyway, but trying to standardize how pricing is done in the transport sector. Is that something that could help us out of the current issue in terms of transport fares?
Brace, the truth is this. If you had a standardized, pricing, and I have an investment, you have an investment, right, that you could put into a certain type of vehicle as prescribed by the Road Safety Act, that doesn't come in dangerous to both passengers and the public. And then I can put in that investment knowing that if I were to put in, let's say, 500,000, and I'm to recoup 400 Ghana cedis or 1,000 Ghana cedis daily, if you do a spreadsheet, right, you will be able to determine if all things are equal. In 2-3 years, I should be able to recoup. If the vehicle is strong enough to do additional 2 years, that will be return on investment. I am sure, like I did indicate earlier, within a period, we might be able to change the very old fleet. We might be able to have a fleet that has proper service and maintenance culture, that doesn't allow drivers to just jump onto the road knowing the tires are worn out, the brake pads are not, good enough. But because they need to just go out there and look for no coffee, they jump onto the road and pose a danger to everybody else using the road. Until we get to that point where things are done using the right systems, the right scientific method, this hula baloo, the brouhaha, we will pay, we won't pay, we will increase, we won't increase, we would reduce. A section they won't reduce because they are citing other costs that have gone up. I'm sure the confusion will continue, Brace.
So grateful to you, Duncan Amo, for joining us this morning, and to the Chairman for Road and Transport Committee of Parliament. We're grateful as well for joining us. This is still the AM show on Joy News. Let me say hi to our friends at Ghana Gas who are watching us at this moment. Chairman Kwachi, I'm told you are watching us. Odifo Nkansa and my own man Asase. All of you of Ghana Gas, you are in Atuabo watching us at this moment. Thanks. And guys, kudos for the great work you do for this country. Well, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll take you up north where we understand the Vice President is making a visit there in Wafo. He's making an official visit in Wa this morning. But as part of his visit, he's expected to inspect ongoing works at the BK Adama Multipurpose Youth Resource Center, where JoyNews Upper-West Regional Correspondent Rafi Salam will be joining us from. So stay with us. We'll bring you much more on this after the break. Stay with us.